Smack It Off the Podcast is coming soon. Why would you assume something different? Smack It Off the Podcast is preparing now to tell you why your team is so horrendous. Oh dear, what a shame. Always the same game. Loser at all things. No luck that it brings. Fails at every try. Can't help but sigh. Clumsy and in wit. Can't seem to quit. Trips over own feet. Defeat is so sweet, pathetic poor soul can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret, you're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend, maybe luck will bend. Smack It Off the Podcast is coming soon. Why would you assume something different? Smack It Off the Podcast is preparing now to tell you why your team is so horrendous. Oh dear, what a shame. Always the same game. Loser at all things. No luck that it brings. Fails at every try. Can't help but sigh. Clumsy and in wit. Can't seem to quit. Trips over own feet. Defeat is so sweet, pathetic poor soul can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret, you're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend, maybe luck will bend. Trips over own feet, defeat is so sweet, pathetic poor soul can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret, you're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend, maybe luck will bend. Trips over own feet, defeat is so sweet, pathetic poor soul can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret, you're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend, maybe luck will bend. Trips over own feet, defeat is so sweet, pathetic poor soul can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret, you're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend, maybe luck will bend. Trips over own feet, defeat is so sweet, pathetic poor soul can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret, you're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend, maybe luck will bend. Smack It Off the Podcast is coming soon. Why would you assume something different? Smack It Off the Podcast is preparing now to tell you why your team is so horrendous. Oh dear, what a shame. Always the same game. Loser at all things. No luck that it brings. Fails at every try. Can't help but sigh. Clumsy and in wit. Can't seem to quit. Trips over own feet. Defeat is so sweet, Pathetic poor soul, can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret, you're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend, maybe luck will bend. Smack It Off the Podcast is coming soon. Why would you assume something different? Smack It Off the Podcast is preparing now to tell you why your team is so horrendous. Oh dear, what a shame. Always the same game. Loser at all things. No luck that it brings. Fails at every try. Can't help but sigh. Clumsy and dim-wit. Can't seem to quit. Trips over on feet. Defeat is so sweet. Pathetic poor soul, can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret, you're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend, maybe luck will bend. Trips over own feet, defeat is so sweet. Pathetic poor soul, can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret, you're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend, maybe luck will bend. Trips over own feet, defeat is so sweet. Pathetic poor soul, can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret, you're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend, maybe luck will bend. Trips over own feet, defeat is so sweet. Pathetic poor soul, can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret, you're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend, maybe luck will bend. Trips over own feet, defeat is so sweet. Pathetic poor soul, can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret, you're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend, maybe luck will bend. Smack It Off the Podcast is coming soon. Why would you assume something different? Smack It Off the Podcast is preparing now to tell you why your team is so horrendous. Oh dear, what a shame. Always the same game. Loser at all things. No luck that it brings. Fails at every try. Can't help but sigh. Clumsy and dim-wit. Can't seem to quit. Trips over on feet. Defeat is so sweet. Pathetic poor soul, can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret, you're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend, maybe luck will bend. Smack It Off the Podcast is coming soon. Why would you assume something different? Smack It Off the Podcast is preparing now to tell you why your team is so horrendous. Oh dear, what a shame. Always the same game. Loser at all things. No luck that it brings. Fails at every try. Can't help but sigh. Clumsy and dim-wit. Can't seem to quit. Trips over on feet. Defeat is so sweet. pathetic poor soul can't read.
Dr. Balls is a presentation of Smacking Off the Podcast.
Dr. Balls in the house. What's going on? The doctor knows who's going down. Dr. Balls will know.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to Smacking Off the Podcast.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, what's up, Ed? So we have Ed Scrap with us.
Ed, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for somebody to talk about whether Queen traveled.
What's up, Jason?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
You all can hear?
Yes.
Yes, I can. And it sounds like we have Jason Marks with us. And has Sean joined us this week?
I don't know. He was supposed to be back already. So we'll see.
Yes. We're waiting to
It's hard to tell with Sean. Sean waits 5 to 7 minutes before he pops in after tip-off.
You know, that was a tactic of Mussolini, right? Where you would pause for a second before you said anything to give Ray a chance to get right.
Yeah.
Now, here's somebody.
I had to rush dinner. I had to rush dinner tonight, making tacos. So, like 7:58, I finally finished dinner and ran upstairs just to get the studio set up.
All right, so not fish tacos, right?
Not fish tacos, no.
Oh, hell yeah. Because I'm one of those guys. I'm one of those guys. Well, I don't like fish at all. So, but if I did like fish, I wouldn't want it on my fucking taco.
Well, I was going to say it is Taco Tuesday, aka White People Taco Night. So,
But if you had like ahi tuna tacos, that's pretty good.
Tuna tacos?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and I also had blackened shrimp tacos at Solomon's Landing in Cabo where Guy Fieri went, and that shit was good.
Damn it, Jim.
I'm a ribeye steak taco guy, man. That's some good shit.
But
I love that thing.
okay, but who's complaining about steak? We're not knocking steak here.
All right. Well, see, I'm not a seafood guy. I don't give a fuck taco or no taco. I don't want to.
What about
I'm not
crabs?
really a seafood guy. I do eat shrimp. Huh?
Crabs?
No, I don't really
Lobster?
like. Lobster. I do. It's edible. I mean, but as much as it costs, it's got to be more than edible for me. If I'm spending that much, I'm getting a fucking porterhouse.
Is there
What
a
about the
melting
surf and
pot near you?
Huh?
Is there a melting pot near you?
No.
It's a fondue restaurant.
I've been to one of those. There was one in Huntsville, Alabama. I don't know if it's still there now because it's been a while since I've been at Bridge Street Town Center because that's where it was. But I have been to one of those. That's an experience. I will say that. But also too, if you want to induce yourself into a coma, a ribeye medium with lobster mac and cheese, it'll put you in a coma like that.
But wait a minute, is it claw meat lobster mac and cheese? Because that doesn't work for me.
Okay, I mean, I'm not really specific with it, although I do agree that the claw meat is so much better. But I don't get that specific with it, and also it's at Red Lobster, so I don't think they get specific with it either. But I mean, you could make that request. If you do, please let me know to see if the waitress holds judgment upon you, because I would be curious to find that out.
Now, Doug, back to the not eating fish. For somebody that's lived in Okeechobee, Florida, right? That's amazing to me that you don't eat fish because you had the opportunity to actually get fish that was good, you know?
Believe it or not, I do like to fish. And me and my brother caught like 150 brim one day. And
Hell yeah.
clean. And I still didn't eat none of that shit. My
Hell
mom
yeah.
my mom, she might have warped me. I don't know. She gave me fish sticks when I was a kid and told me that they were chicken fingers. Then I had a
Oh
real
my
chicken finger, and I was like, "Yeah, something's wrong with your chicken fingers, Mama. It seems a little fishy to me."
goodness.
Yeah,
The
but
bait
yeah,
fish.
I don't know. And then the older I got, every time I tried fish, it's like I don't know. And I got some bad, you get a hold of some strong fish if you already don't like it, and that'll fuck you up. Like catfish or. But anyway, enough about my anti-fish stance.
You ever notice there's not very many fish college basketball or college football teams? Can we think of who can think of what the Wahoos?
No fish.
If you're in Hawaii, a Wahoo is a fish, yeah.
Well, who is the Wahoos?
But that's Washington State, so they're not a fish. I was just trying to think of that.
No. Yes, Wazoo.
Wazoo, okay.
And that's just a play on the Washington State thing.
And also, West Virginia call themselves the Wahoos, but they're the Cavaliers.
Yeah, you're talking about University of Virginia.
Yeah. You said West Virginia.
Oh, I thought I said Virginia. My bad.
No, that and they're the Mountaineers, and
I will try to enunciate much better tonight throughout this podcast. My bad.
no, you enunciated fine.
I'm gonna enunciate like Jeff Gordon in 1993. How about that?
So you got a guy from about Appalachia helping host the show, and you're worried about how you sound. You're doing fantastic, Jason. I'll tell you, right?
Hey, Doug, is there a Black Rock Grill near you?
I think there is over across town in Patton Creek. I'm not sure.
You should go.
Huh? Oh yeah.
What
do they have?
The Black Rock Grill. You order your steak, they bring it to you on a 900-degree rock, and you cook it yourself, and they serve it
on a 900-degree rock.
Isn't that like a
damn?
Wouldn't it be glowing?
No, it's not every single part of the rock is 900 degrees. And then they serve it with this incredible garlic butter. It is off the hook.
Gotcha.
Damn it, Jim. Now, if you go smallmouth fishing down here in Appalachia, there's like limestone gorges that's got like pristine, crystal clear water, and you can like wade them all day long. And the bottom of the creek is limestone, so you can wade these creeks all day long and never get dirty, right? Anyway, they're full of smallmouth and red eyes and pumpkin seeds and all kinds of cold water fish. And anyway, so if you're fishing that's what you want, right? You want that right there. Ed was just talking about, but that's that right there. I trust the fish out of that, right? If you was just to fish in the Ohio River, you'd probably grow a third eye. You know what I'm saying? You got to be careful these days because the pollution here in the Rust Belt is out of hand. I'm here to tell you. But guys, since there is no college football teams that have fish, especially the Sweet 16, we're going to have to talk about this tournament, and there's all kinds of things to talk about. We've been sharing stuff in the chat. We've been sharing stuff online in the groups. We've been talking about how we feel about the makeup of the Sweet 16 in terms of what kind of team is in it. In other words, do we have true underdogs? Do we have true Cinderellas? And it looks like that going into the Sweet 16, the closest we have to a Cinderella, in my opinion, would be Arkansas.
I think that's fair.
Except for the fact that they have a lot of talent.
Well, they have more talent than anybody in the country other than Duke. I mean, people forget that DJ Wagner, if it had been a one and done situation, he could have left last year on his name. He was the best player coming out of high school, the number one recruit in Kentucky.
They're playing Texas Tech, right?
Yeah.
I could see them winning that.
Yeah, I can see them winning it too. Especially that now their inside presence with the dude is very interesting. The lineup is jailed around. We just talked about DJ Wagner and the fact that DJ Wagner can take it to the basket in tournament time and draw fouls and create opportunities for his team. It's starting to work out for Cal, and they could possibly beat Texas Tech, I think.
When I look at this matchup, like Dr. Balls and I, we did a live reaction stream of the Arkansas St. John's game where Arkansas from the field shot 42.9%, but their 3-point attempts were absolutely abysmal. I can't remember right off the top of my head what it was, but I think it was somewhere around like 2 for 22. It was bad. It was bad. Like really, even if Arkansas was just on their normal average of shooting, they would have ran St. John's out of the gym because St. John's could not hit anything. Which part of it? I mean, it's not to discredit anything that Arkansas's defense did. I thought that they did enough. They kept St. John's with the best of their ability from their strong point of banging in the glass. Texas Tech is kind of one of those teams too. They they'll fight you in the paint. They are that type of team. And from a talent standpoint, yes, Arkansas has a lot more talent. But it comes down to this. Arkansas cannot have a game like they did against St. John's. It was for the fact that St. John's shot so poorly, which, by the way, is one of the worst. Let me just emphasize that the worst shooting performance for a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. The worst.
So, Ed,
they can't repeat that.
So, Ed, before we go to you and your opinion of that game, because I'm interested, I have to say hats off to you, Jason, because you and I commentated one of the worst games in NCAA history and absolutely the worst shooting game. So one of the worst games in terms of sloppiness. There was lots of effort, though. I got your team. The effort was there, but it was just a badly played game, horrible offense, good defense, but not, like you said, to merit the worst shooting performance in NCAA tournament history. And the Arkansas's own effort ranked as well in the worst 10 of all time. So what do you think about that one, Ed?
About Arkansas?
Yeah, did you see the game or any parts of it?
I did. I mean, they're very athletic. They don't always shoot well, but when they shoot well, they're very dangerous. They've got some length and some quickness, and I noticed it early in the season in the game against Michigan. You know, Michigan got off to a pretty good start, but Arkansas just sort of overwhelmed them with their athleticism. So they're dangerous. And Cal has a chip on his shoulder.
Absolutely, Ed. Now, what do you think about that one, Doug? Is though Cal has a chance to ramp it up everybody's wazoo, as we were saying, right? If he wins out and goes to the Final Four, wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And I listened to you and Jason the other day for a little bit, as much as I could. And I'm just wondering, probably have to get Jason to tell me how hard was Dr. Balls rooting against Arkansas, Jason?
He really did. I'll say this: if he and I were doing a live stream, and it was a poker match, he had a pretty good poker face. I'll give him that much. Now, I will say this though: he was dogging old Ivisic.
Yeah,
he was dogging him, and of course, you know, I played along with it. Yeah, I had a little fun with it because he fouled out of the game. He became a liability in that game. Could it happen again against Texas Tech? Possibly, or maybe he shakes it off.
Bob, you were just calling it like you saw it, wasn't you?
Yeah, and not only that, but the commentators missed that entirely. They never mentioned it, that he was the reason that the Arkansas swings would end and it would start swinging towards St. John's. Every time he was on the court, he was a liability defensively and offensively, and they were just rooting him out of the way, and he was ignorant fouls.
It kind of threw a monkey wrench into maybe the personnel management of that game, because I mean to have a play 40 minutes, which I mean, it's doable, but you don't want. I mean, eventually, fatigue your body. Human nature is going to take its course, and eventually, you're going to get tired. And when you get tired, your brain starts to get a little bit foggy, and then you start to make some little mistakes. So Cal probably at the beginning of the game was just like, okay, let's give this guy a blow, immunity, but let him get some rest. Ivisic come in, chew up some minutes, and it'll be fine. But the problem is Ivisic started fouling. He started giving up lanes. He's let guys cut into the basket, and it became a liability. And then you just had to bring him back out. You were left with no choice because St. John's was starting to get momentum despite just a horrid shooting game. And with that game too, you talk about, I wouldn't say it was like the worst game that I ever watched, because I will say the Virginia Texas Tech final back in 2019.
Yeah, that was pretty ugly.
That game probably set basketball back about 50 years.
I'll see the worst game in that one. It was Cincinnati and Kentucky in 1986, and the winning score was 40 points. And that game was the reason they had the shot clock, right? And Cincinnati played four corners for the entire game. And I think the score was 40-18, and that's when Kentucky had Kenny Skywalker, right? I mean, he was. I mean, they had no answer.
I remember him from the old All-Star games and the Stay in School campaign the NBA had back in the 90s.
Yeah, he could dunk from the foul line with ease. I mean, he could touch the top of the backboard. He was unstoppable, and he was a great NBA player as well with the Knicks. And but anyway, so we don't like that basketball, and that's what Virginia had to do. And the only reason they won with it is the coaching was so good and they were so disciplined that each offensive possession had to mean something, and it did. They got something out of every offensive possession. So even though they had very few possessions, they were able to get something out of every possession. If you're a team like Arkansas and somebody slows you down, right, then since you don't have offensive efficiency, then it's going to be a low point game, and you're basically screwed. And Texas Tech can play into Arkansas's hands with that, with the up tempo style. And if it gets messy like it is, that's the only way to me that Arkansas can win and advance to the Elite Eight is if the game gets messy the way it did against St. John's.
I would agree with that.
Well, I just want to say that you and Jason doing the commentary is how Arkansas ended up on the thumbnail this week, because that was really the game I was most familiar with over the week over that period of time. So,
and absolutely, we'll have to do that in the future. We might do for college football. You know how they have some Thursday night games that are pretty interesting. So what we should do is have the podcast with the Thursday night game, and we could do live reactions during the podcast, and we'll see different things. If we do that, you'll get different subjects that will pop up during the game. Well, this guy, he transferred from Alabama. Who'd they replace him with? What does he look like? On and on and on. We'll do the magic we do. So it's just one more thing we can offer our fans, and we enjoy doing it.
Make it kind of like VH1 pop-up video with the little bubble that pops up in the middle of it.
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool? And so, what about you, Ed? Who do you got? Who do you think's going to win between Arkansas and Texas Tech?
I got Arkansas, and if like was mentioned earlier, Cal does not have to win the Natty for complete redemption. If he gets to the Final Four, he's made his point.
I agree. Absolutely. So who do you got in this game, Jason?
I'm going to go Texas Tech because I think again we've kind of slept on the Big 12. Now, don't get me wrong, Ole Miss absolutely embarrassed Iowa State, which Iowa State I haven't really been sold on this entire season. They've been kind of hit or miss, but Texas Tech has been pretty good. Now they haven't been as consistent, but they're a pretty good team. And as I mentioned earlier, they can bang in the paint immunity with the best of them. and it's going to be a matchup for Ivisic. It's going to be a matchup for Adu, possibly with JT Toppin. Toppin leads the team in points, and he leads the team in rebounds per game. So I didn't have Arkansas going this far. I'm not going to lie to you. I had St. John's and then eventually Texas Tech taking them out. So I'm going to stay true to my bracket because it hasn't been completely terrible. I still have 7 of my Elite 8 teams in it. Bye-bye, Kansas. So I'm still hanging on to my bracket. I'm going to stay true to it, and I'm going to go with the Red Raiders to pull it out.
Hallelujah. So who do you got on this, Doug?
I'm gonna have to be a homer today, and since the SEC started out so poorly in the first round with all the teams going home, I'm going with Arkansas in a close one.
Hallelujah. That's the kind of game they've got to have, I believe. All right, so we talked about that one. So I think we ought to talk about BYU and Alabama. And I think that's an interesting game. It's a Thursday at 7:09 p.m. Right? So I know none of us are missing that one.
I mean, I'm pulling for Alabama with everything I got. BYU probably wins because I don't feel like this team's got what it takes, and they got to go down somewhere. And Sweet 16, this is a team that has made it to the Sweet 16 a few times in their history. Made it to the Final Four once. Made it to the Elite 8 once without getting to the Final Four. I say that this season conks out where Bama usually conks out when they have a decent team. And so give me BYU.
Damn. So what do you got on this, Ed?
BYU looks tough, man. I got to go with them.
Is there anything you like about them in particular?
They can shoot it. They don't. They play a pretty clean brand of basketball. They don't turn it over all that much. Decent defensive team. They've been good. They've been solid all year.
I agree with you, Ed. I think that limited turnovers in these tournament situations is a huge deal. So that'll help them. But I don't necessarily agree with you about the win or lose. But yeah. So who do you got on this, Jason?
Well, I will say this, that Nashville traffic has been horrendous because it took me an hour and a half to get home, and I live 20 miles away in the city of Gallatin, Tennessee.
Jeez.
So this game is supposed to tip off 6:09 local time, which would be central for me. And this is going to be the reason I'm probably going to have to leave work at 3:30 just to get home in time to watch this one, because if there is any matchup in this one, this is the one I want to watch, because and I know BYU doesn't get talked a lot about in SEC country. Everybody's looking at this and going, BYU, where the hell did these guys come from? But I will tell you this, Kevin Young, who has been an NBA assistant coach for different NBA teams throughout the year, and we had him on a couple of weeks ago on our 24/7 Sports College Basketball show on CBS Sports Network, and he is implementing an NBA-style program with BYU. That is why next season they're getting the number 1 prospect in the 2025 class in AJ DeBonsa, because they're building something over there. BYU may not win it all, but there will definitely be a problem next year. And they could be a problem for Alabama, because if I look at this game statistically, if you look at point differentials, if you look at rebound differentials, if you look at just about every stat between these two teams, they are almost identical. The only difference is Alabama plays at one of the top paces in college basketball, where they average 78 possessions a game, where BYU averages around 68 to 69, which is ranked 145th. St. Mary's tried to slow Alabama down, because St. Mary's plays with the 356th ranked tempo in Division I basketball, and there's 365 teams in Division I. So you're going to see a little bit of a faster pace. Both teams have a great mix of experience, youth, and talent. Like they are almost identical. The pace is the only thing that's going to be different in this game. I will say I'm actually kind of shocked that there were 2 BYU picks because I actually thought that I was going to be on an island, and I thought that we were going to have if Jeremy Smith had been joining us here tonight, that we would have had a People's Court style of cases where Dr. Balls would be Judge Wapner, and we would go and make our cases. But I will say this. If Cliff Omiuri starts getting hot, starts getting more physical, then they're going to be a problem. If Mark Sears starts getting hot, then they're going to be a problem. If they start, and Alabama, it's been a little bit since they've been able to get hot from shooting. When they shoot lights out, they're not going to get beat. That's going to be the big key in this game. St. Mary's has already tried to slow the pace down, which Nate Oates was able to adapt very well to. The problem is but the problem that St. Mary's gave them is when they tried to speed it up, they put themselves prone to turnovers, as you saw earlier in that game. I'm wondering if BYU may try to do the same. But I'm going to stick to my bracket and stay true to it again, and I'm going to go with BYU over the Tide.
So I want to add one thing to what I said, and I've got BYU. But if Alabama wins this game, I'm going off the deep end next episode, and I'm picking them to win the national championship.
Woo!
Go ahead and give the warning, and of course they're not going to, but I'm still going to fucking do it.
Well, I think you should get ready for that. I think you should stock up on beer, whatever it is you enjoy. Get your dogs excited, get comfy, because it's going to go that way. And the reason is that Alabama has Mark Sears, right? He's one of the top 3 players in the country, in my opinion. And having a point guard with his leadership and his ability to drive and make the right play, including score, right, is fantastic. And with Nelson semi-healthy, it'll great defense that Alabama's picked up on now. Defensively, Alabama has improved since near the end of the season through the SEC tournament into now. I think Alabama's improved in a large portion defensively. And since they got Mark Sears, I got Alabama, guys.
You know, I want to admit that I've got no logic of why.
He handles his benching like a man.
So Jason actually knows something about BYU. All I knew is that BYU made it into the Sweet 16, and I know Bama's record in the Sweet 16. And that's really the basis.
And really, that's excuse me, that's normal for most SEC fans because nobody's expecting BYU on the radar. They expected, okay, BYU's in the Big 12.
Now, I did hear stuff about BYU this year, and I know that they're not a bad squad.
No, they're not terrible, and they are going in the right direction. But I will say next year, that's going to be a program that you're going to watch, especially when they bring in AJ DeBonza.
Hats off to BYU. Sorry to interrupt you, but we got to think about this. Their coach transferred to Kentucky, and now they're in the Sweet 16 with a new coach, right? Who's obviously the right coach.
Yeah, credit to Mark Pope. Mark Pope kind of set the foundation for BYU to be able to build on this program. And then they brought in the guy like Kevin Young, who may be more fitting because, I don't know of many 18-year-old kids, other than maybe the scenery in the state of Utah, that would want to go there outside of a visit. But Kevin Young has been able to give an incentive on why you should come all the way to Provo, Utah, to play some college and maybe get yourself to the NBA, because he's been a guy who has coached the NBA and knows how the NBA works. And that's usually what some of these top recruits want.
Now, I wonder if he's part of the Rick Majerus coaching tree.
That I have to look into.
Because that'd be interesting. I loved Rick Majerus, by the way. So we've talked about that game. I think it's going to be a great game, guys. I love both the teams, the way they play. But now let's talk to here's a massive one. How about Arizona and Duke?
Y'all hold that thought. Ed, you need a bathroom break, Ed?
I could use one.
All right, let's take a break and we'll come back and talk Arizona and who?
Duke.
Yep.
Smacking Off the podcast can use your support. How can you support us? You can buy awesome products using our affiliate links. These are products you want, products you need, in other words, stuff you will likely buy anyway. Go to smackology.42web.io and use our affiliate links at the top of the page. eBay, Fiverr, CBD for Life, A Premium Auto Parts, Clear VPN, Haley AI, Fans Edge, and Pinpause. We appreciate your support today, as well as in the future.
Smacking Off merch is available at our spread shop. Find awesome hoodies and t-shirts in all colors. Want it in your team color? Hit us up and tell us what you want, and we'll send you the web address for your custom shirt within 1 day. Go to smackology1.myspreadshop.com for awesome Smacking Off stuff.
It's Dr. Balls, can you feel that sound? In the house, got the party going down. Where you at? Better step on the scene. We drop a rhyme sharp like a damn machine. On the mic, I'm the remedy, no need for a doubt. You're feeling low, let me show you where we at. Get the vibe, I'm the one you can trust. When Dr. Balls drops, you can't help but thrust. On the mic, I'm the remedy, no need for a doubt. You're feeling low, let me show you where we at. Get the vibe, I'm the one you can trust. When Dr. Balls drops. Dr. Balls in the house! Where the fuck you at?
All right,
Tuesday,
we're back.
not clockwork, Dr. Balls.
I know it's special, but not like Jerry's kids, right?
Right? Those are some special kids.
Well, they were special, very special. I always wondered, they should have had a Jerry Lee Lewis telethon, right? And then they could have all the guys like that married women that was too young.
That would have been some shit, wouldn't it? Wasn't it Jerry Lee Lewis? That would have been some shit.
You remember?
Yeah.
You remember the Chris Rock? Chris Rock made a joke in one of his stand-ups back in the 90s about the Jerry's Kid telethon, where it's like, where is all that money going to the kids? Because his hair is still black. It's all going to his hair dye. That's the joke that Chris Rock would make.
No, the reason I said that
is Jerry Lewis still dead?
As far as I know, or he's in France. The reason to put that in proper context, because we love Jerry's Kids, the Martian Dimes, is because if Shaw was here, he would know it, because the Jerry's Kids is if you're airborne in the Army and you can't make it through the battalion run of like 15 kilometers, they've got a cattle truck that follows the formation. And if you fall out, it's like the worst possible humiliation of your entire life is to fall out of that formation of people running, right, and not make it. And then you become one of Jerry's Kids, the sick, lame, and lazy, the blind, crippled, and crazy. So as a paratrooper, it's a world of monkeys, Bo. There's no way that you want to be one of Jerry's Kids. So anyway, guys, speaking of Jerry's Kids, right, we're looking at Arizona versus Duke. It's one of the great Friday games. And I don't know if I can say I'm excited about it, but Arizona's coming into this thing hot. Do they got any chance of beating Duke?
No.
Duke is going to whip their ass.
They're going to kick their ass. I mean, Duke obviously has if he's not the best player in the country, he's one of them. And Cooper Flagg, the guy's amazing. They say he's relatively healthy now, but I mean, even at 80, 90%, this guy's off the hook. And now he's got help. Everybody else is stepping up around him, which they proved in the ACC tournament. They won it without him.
Yeah, you've got. You have the potential with this team of 3 NBA lottery picks. You have Cooper Flagg, you have Con Kneppel, which a lot of people don't talk about, but he was one of the top recruits in that class with Cooper Flag. And then you have the big man Maluik, who has been a monster in the paint. There's projections in the NBA right now that he's just right on the edge of the lottery or just right outside of it. So there's 3 potential ones there. And not to mention the point guard, the court general, and Tyrese Proctor, who has a lot of experience. And they just took a Baylor team with a potential lottery pick in VJ Edgecombe and one of their former teammates in Jeremy Roach and just absolutely annihilated them. Now it was close there for a little bit in the first half, but eventually they pulled away. That's why I have been saying, and some people have just been thinking I'm crazy and be like, "Oh, you're talking about an ACC team, with the meme with the 4 dragons, 3 of them mean, and the other one goofy, and the goofy one is the ACC." But the problem is, Duke's not that goofy dragon. They're not the goofy dragon of the ACC. Excuse me, they're practically the ACC. Now, Arizona, they have a good team led by former North Carolina guard Caleb Love, and they do have some talent on their end. But I really think the way that this is matched up and the way that Duke has played these last 2 games, it looks like they excuse me. It looks like they're finding their rhythm, and I think they're going to run away with this one easily.
Caleb Love's been smoking the last few games, though. That's why I give out Arizona a slight chance. But I agree with you 100%. And Coach Shire, obviously the right guy to coach Duke. He played there. He knew the system. He was a graduate assistant, an assistant coach. He was groomed. He was ready. The recruiting's off the hook. Hats off to Coach Shire. And what do you got on it, Ed?
I got Duke easy.
Duke easy. What are you thinking, Doug?
Give me Duke. My father-in-law is a Tar Heels fan, and he hates fucking Duke. And next time I go over, I just want to hear about it.
I hate Duke too. I do.
I always root for the heel. I root I'm rooting for John Cena since he turned a bad guy. I rooted for Hollywood Hogan when he turned into a bad guy.
Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, NWO baby for life. I mean,
hallelujah.
Until Sting started coming down from the rafters, and then I changed my tune when he had the
the black 5 o'clock shadow was pretty fucking cool on a blonde haired dude. Now I don't know that. What's his name? Terry. What the hell is Hulk Hogan's real name?
Terry Bollea.
Yep. I'm not sure that maybe he's not. Maybe he is a black headed dude. I don't know.
No, he's still got the blonde hair and the bald spot.
So he just didn't give a shit. They gave him a black 5 o'clock shadow. It went really well with the blonde hair. It really did.
How old is he? Like friggin' 80 by now?
70 something.
He's probably getting close to 70 now.
So I thought Trump was going to make him Secretary of Defense, but I guess it didn't happen. That would have been funny, wouldn't it? The fucking media would have loved that shit.
Oh my goodness. Craziness, guys. But who was it that fell from the season ceiling and died? Was it Ole Anderson or Arn Anderson or Ron Bass?
That was one of the Hart brothers, wasn't it?
That was Owen Hart. It was I think it was at an event in Kansas City. I forgot which one it was. I was actually watching the pay-per-view live when that happened.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's actually a good podcast hosted by Conrad Thompson and Bruce Pritchard, who was Brother Love. They recorded years back. It was talking about that event and like when Owen Hart fell from the rafters and kind of gave you the insight of like what was going on with Vince McMahon and Jerry Lawler in the commentary booth, what was going on in the gorilla position, like kind of how it kind of takes you with like a vicarious look into the events of what happened. It was really, really good podcast. Should listen to it.
Yes, I'd love to. I loved wrestling as a kid, and up through my time in my first stitch in the army. I really loved wrestling in those days, and I loved the first SummerSlam and all that, and the first what was it, WrestleMania? I watched it. Loved Georgia Championship Wrestling. Of course, we got Midwest Wrestling up here too. So you'd have two wrestlers in a row. So you'd have Midwest Wrestling with what's the one that was in the Predator? Uh, who was it? Jesse the Body Ventura and guys like him.
Jesse even
And then you'd have Georgia Championship wrestlers with the Anderson and Ron Bass and that bunch. And so I'd watch that back to back. So I guess we all pretty much are on Duke on this one, guys. And I was hoping Nikki could get to join us because I think the next Thursday game that really matters is Maryland and Florida. No, Ed, I know you're high on this game, right?
Hang on.
Hang on, he says. So
Come on, Ed.
this we're on his team, baby. That's why I wish Nikki was with us because she'd be Go Gators all the way. So I'm going to be Nikki. I'm going to kick it off while we wait on Ed to talk about his Terps. So because I'm going to ask him something. So Maryland borders Appalachia, and pieces of Appalachia go through Maryland, right? So they always talk about the
Not
Terrapins,
according
right?
to Marylanders.
Oh yeah, I know y'all don't want to claim it, but pieces of Appalachia go through Maryland, and it's a fact, right? So, so y'all are so good that it has to be the Terps or the Terrapins. So y'all don't know what a tarpon is. Y'all never called them a tarpon. You ever heard that?
I know what a tarpon is.
Yeah, well, not the fish, the tarpon, right? But here in Appalachia, they're a tarpon, saying, oh, there's a tarpon, So we'd have to do box turtle for y'all know what we was talking about. Is that right, Ed?
Yeah. Now, the reason I didn't say anything, I was chewing a piece of chocolate. But anyway.
That's important shit.
The Crab 5 can hang with Florida's starting unit. But simple two problems for Maryland. They don't have the depth that Florida has. And even in the first game against Grand Canyon, they were kind of asleep at the beginning of the game. And they had some lapses against Colorado State. They can't have any lapses against Florida. They will have to play 40 minutes of solid basketball. And actually, there's a third problem. Everybody except maybe UConn last year tends to have at least one close call. I don't see Florida having two close calls in a row. I just don't. Maybe they'll have one in their final 3 games, assuming they get to the championship. But I think they win it by 10 to 15 points.
We sit on it, Jacob.
I'm kind of in agreement with Ed. I mean, Maryland has talent. They have talent in the front court with Julian Reese and Derek Queen, who Derek Queen is going to get his money in the NBA next season.
Yep.
So they have the bodies in the front court to be able to muscle with Florida. Florida, as Ed said, had a little bit of their scare with UConn, which I thought that UConn match. This was, if there was any matchup, the UConn matchup was the one that probably would have worried me about Florida's run to the national championship game, where I have them losing to Duke. But with Maryland, like I said, Derek Queen, Julian Reese, they might be able to keep it close for a half. But like Ed said, with the depth, I think it's going to come into play. And if Walter Clayton Jr. starts getting hot, and usually that's the key. If he starts getting hot with that outside shot, nobody has a chance. Go back to the SEC tournament game against Alabama, where he started catching fire, and Alabama couldn't even come close. And I think that this could be an instance once again where that could happen.
Yeah, I like Florida in the game myself. And the reason I like them is that they're so well polished. It's so precision the way they run their sets. They don't seem to get rattled easily. When depth comes in, they don't really fall off. And I think they're just Coach Golden is fantastic, and they're so well coached. Well, I've got to pick Florida in this game, and to this point, I'd have to say that I'm in agreement with you that it looks like Duke and Florida in the end, but that's yet to be seen. But if one was going to make a bet this minute, those are the teams that are playing the best. Duke is well coached and has amazing talent, and Florida is well coached and has lots of depth. So I'm kind of high on Florida for the tournament. Since Nikki's not here, I want to talk them up. So what do you got, Doug? Who do you think is in this game?
Give me Florida. I don't know a lot about Maryland, but the only thing that I do know is they're fixing to lose to Florida.
They have a very good starting five, but they don't have a ton of depth.
I have to be honest. We got a few games to go before we get there, but I'm really ready to talk about this Michigan-Auburn game, Ed.
Yes, we're getting ready to move to the other side of the bracket. So since we all picked, we're going to say Florida, except for Ed. Ed, are you picking Maryland anyway, just because?
No, I'm picking Florida.
Yeah, everybody's picking Florida.
Everybody's picking Florida. So then we ought to move to that game then, because that's a very important game, Doug. I believe that Michigan and Auburn is going to be special, like we were something special earlier, exciting and new, like the Love Boat, whatever you want to call it.
Yes, it's the third game of the day on Friday.
It's the third game of the day on Friday, but this is a special game.
But hey, we can go in any order we want to because we're smacking off the podcast.
And that's right. And Ed is high on Michigan as well, so that gives a chance. All right, Ed, is Michigan going to beat Auburn? What the fuck is up?
I think Michigan has a real chance. Now, Michigan lost to two other SEC teams at least in Arkansas and Oklahoma, so that's a little bit of a concern because Auburn's better than both of those teams. The other thing is the big Russian guy, Golden, he's skilled, but he is not athletic at all. And I could see the Auburn bigs maybe getting him into foul trouble, and that could change the game.
Yeah, I see that too.
The other big guy for Michigan, whose name is currently escaping me, is a lot more athletic, has a lot more moves to his game, but he doesn't really play like a big all the time. And Michigan's guards are decent. They're not great. I don't see Auburn winning it. I think you give the edge to Auburn. I definitely like Michigan with the points. I'll pick Michigan, but, I'm not betting a ranch on it.
Well, Doug, you hate Auburn as much as everybody else in the SEC. What do you think about it?
As much as I hate to fucking do it, give me Auburn. I've got Auburn going in my bracket. I've got Auburn going to the Elite Eight, and I'm going to stick with it. Fuck those Michigan Wolverines. Auburn by 10.
Auburn by 10. So I like Auburn in this game myself. And before I throw it to you, Jason, I think that their inside game is better. And the coach at Michigan is really good, but I've got Bruce Pearl. So I'm going to go ahead and make my pick and throw it to you. I got Auburn.
I will be the lone wolf on this one. I'm going to go Michigan, and here's why. Because Garrett Wolf is the guy that Ed was talking about earlier, who's the big man who can throw dimes, who came from Yale, a little bit more athletic. I think that guy right there is going to give Janai Broome fits. He has the capability of doing that. Auburn's other big man, Dylan Cardwell, I see that as more of the possible matchup against the likes of a Golden. That could be the matchup that goes that I see that's going to happen right there. Auburn has better shooters in the backcourt for sure. If Trey Donaldson is able to get open and start hitting threes, and I think that he's due for a game. This might be the one to where he can do it. I think that Michigan can slow Auburn down in the battle in the paint with the big men. Of course, foul trouble is going to be key, and that's a good point that Ed had brought up. That could be Michigan's downfall in this one. But I've just seen too many flaws with this Auburn team in the last couple of weeks, and it's kind of caught up to them. They were able to get away with it at Creighton. They were able to get away with it with Alabama State. The Michigan team, you mentioned that they went 0-2 against the SEC, against Arkansas and Oklahoma, but they only lost those games by 1 to 2 points. So they can hang with SEC teams. And also, that was in non-conference earlier in the season. It looks like Michigan is starting to hit their stride a little bit. They're starting to find a little bit of rhythm. And that's the one thing. If you start getting hot in the tournament, then anything can happen. And that's what I'm going to pull the trigger on this one. And I'm going to go Michigan to beat Auburn.
All right.
Bob, let's jump to the first game of Friday. That's Ole Miss and Michigan State.
I like that one. That's a good one to jump to. Ole Miss had a nice win. Michigan State had a pretty good win. We know Coach Izzo can coach. Of course, I like Coach Beard as well. I think he's done a fine job in a tough conference. And this game's hard for me to pick, guys. I like Michigan State to go on, but I think that Ole Miss is playing real well. Hell, what do you think, Ed? Who do you like in this?
Which one was this? I'm sorry, I was.
Ole Miss and Michigan State.
I like Ole Miss. I think.
Of course you do. You Wolverine, you.
Well, wait a minute.
Let me guess. You got logic behind this, right?
Chris Beard can go toe-to-toe with Izzo for starters. And he is a very good defensive coach. And Michigan State they're a very good team. And I understand they won the Big Ten regular season title and all that, but they are not a dominant team. They're a tough team, a good team. In some ways, a very typical Michigan State team. But I got Ole Miss, without a doubt.
Yes. Well, I think I like the way Ole Miss is playing, and I like Coach Izzo in a dogfight game to coach it and make the right calls at the end. And I think he's got a lottery pick on, not necessarily a lottery pick, but maybe a mid first rounder on his team as well. It's hard to pick against him, but I just love the way that Ole Miss is playing now, and I was surprised Coach Beard took the job at Ole Miss. I thought he would do somewhere where school was more receptive to basketball, and it's been a long time that since Ole Miss has had good basketball. Back to Coach Kennedy, what's it been, like 8 years since they've been in the Sweet 16? But
well, Texas Tech was nothing before Bobby Knight got there, so Beard took that job.
Right. Yeah, that's true. He had support though because he was Bobby Knight, and some people stayed on and kept supporting the program. Obviously, and Coach Beard was able to do something with it. But he had an exciting style there. I believe it's starting to translate with Ole Miss, so I'm going to pick Ole Miss in the game as well. Who do you got, Jason?
Right now, it's hard to pick against Ole Miss because they're probably, out of a lot of these teams, they're probably playing the best basketball right now. They're a little scared against North Carolina, which they dominated the first half of that game. But North Carolina has been a second-half team with the capabilities of coming back. We saw that in the ACC championship game against Duke. But with what they have in Dia as a rebounder and what they have as far as shooting, which I watched this team in person, and they won it on that game-winning shot against Arkansas. As time went down, right now they probably are playing the best basketball.
Yeah,
and they showed it against Iowa. They bloodied Iowa. But I'm going to go from the logic to now the superstition. And here's a stat. Since 1978, Tom Izzo, or Michigan State for that matter, has been 11-1 versus the SEC since 1978, and the only loss was in the Elite Eight against Kentucky back in 1978. So Tom Izzo, either he sold his soul to the devil, or he just goes into Super Saiyan mode. I know a Dragon Ball Z reference is probably not the best one for this podcast, but it's the only one I can think of at this time. But he goes Super Saiyan against the SEC for some reason, and even against a good team like Ole Miss. So it is very, very hard to doubt Michigan State. And I'm going to come off as an SEC hater on this one, but I'm going to go with the Spartans. And again, when Sparty goes up against the SEC in the NCAA tournament, Tom Izzo usually turns it on, and he may do it again coming up on Friday.
Yeah, he beat some good Kentucky teams in the late 90s, early 2000s, a couple times in the Elite Eight when Tubby Smith was the coach. One team with Tayshaun Prince on it. And so those were some great wins against Kentucky for Coach Izzo in the early 2000s. So back to the anime. I think the greatest theatrical production of all time was the last season of Hunter x Hunter. And I believe that Gon and Kilowall, right, are the greatest heroes of my generation since The Empire Strikes Back. Right? So you're not alone again.
I will say this. I'm not in Dragon Ball Z. I only know the reference because a lot of my college friends were into Dragon Ball Z and Cowboy Bebop and the old Adult Swim Toonami that used to come on in the 2000s. And anytime I would go to their apartment to hang out and possibly participate in a little rec in college, that they would have that on. And probably that may be the only time I ever watched an episode of Pokemon was when I was high. And that was the only way I probably could enjoy it. My wife's in my stepson's on, but I can't get into it.
One of our people associated with the podcast, Tim Bailey, is a huge fan, and he owns EB&T Collectibles in Southern Ohio. If you need memorabilia or stuff from that world of anime, but let's get into the real world. And in the real world, we have a Titanic matchup, right? In the Sweet 16 Friday, March 28th at 7:39 p.m., and that is the University of Kentucky Wildcats versus Tennessee Volunteers. And I think it's a fascinating game.
Hey, wait. Did I pick on the last one?
If you didn't, let's hear it.
What was the last one?
It's Michigan State, no miss. I thought you had one.
Michigan State is my I'm sticking with my bracket. Michigan State is going to the Elite Eight where they will defeat Auburn. So Michigan State. All right.
I got too excited, Doug. I got to apologize to you because I got too excited because I'm so excited to see Kentucky play Tennessee in the Elite Eight after them having beat Tennessee without Butler twice in the regular season. Without Butler.
Fuck those balls.
Fuck them balls. That's right. And I'm going to say that for Nikki as well, since she loves them as much as I do, which is none. Right. And there's been a little fuss on some of our pages. The Vols has come out of the woodwork, right? And then they've been vehement about basically the Cats suck and they're going to do this and that. And they got some great players and they got a decent coach. But guys, I believe that Kentucky's better with Butler. They beat them without Butler. I think they're going to beat them again. It's going to be 3 in a row for the Cats, right? Go Cats.
Edward.
Yeah. Who do you got, Ed?
Part of me wants to pick Kentucky, but I don't see him beating Tennessee.
God damn it, Ed.
I just don't.
I'm
going to be rooting for Kentucky, but I'm going to...
Sure you will, Ed.
I'm picking Tennessee in a, I don't know, by about 8.
I'm kind of in the same boat. Kentucky has already beat them 2 times this season. And the way that Tennessee played in the SEC tournament and the way they're playing in the NCAA tournament right now, especially the whooping that they put on UCLA, it's hard to go against the likes of Chaz Lanier, especially if he gets hot from range. This is going to be a very, very good game. It's probably going to be number 2 on my list that I want to watch outside of Alabama BYU as far as intriguing matchups, which has also been the only SEC matchup in this tournament so far, which is probably surprising to a lot of people. But yes, with Butler back, Kentucky is a much more dynamic type of basketball team. And I've had my opinions on Rick Barnes. I was thinking Bruce Pearl's back in Tennessee. I time traveled back to 2009 for some reason. But Rick Barnes, where it comes to tournament time, where Rick Barnes just seems to shrivel up, pun intended. But I think this time he's going to at least get one more. I have Tennessee as one of my Final Four teams. So, again, I'm going to stick to my bracket, which I've stick with most of the time and stayed loyal to, and I'm going to go with the Vols to win.
All right, Doug, who do you got in this Titanic matchup?
Those Vols, man. Those Vols. Fuck those Vols. Kentucky. Kentucky by hell, it may be a 2-pointer at the buzzer, but it's happening. God damn it.
I was going to say, would it be like put a nice little friendly wager on it if Tennessee did win this game, that for the next podcast, instead of Dr. Balls, you would have to call yourself Dr. Balls?
Call what? What are we calling you?
Dr. Balls.
Dr. Balls. Yeah. Hell yeah, Bob. Let's do this shit.
Let's do it.
I'm backing you. I'm backing you. I guarantee you, if Kentucky loses, I'm calling you Dr. Vols. Matter of fact, the name of the show will be Dr. Vols.
But what happens if we win, though?
I got to think about that, though. I'm up for suggestions. I have to think about that.
If we win, we're putting Jen Chavez's picture on the thumbnail.
That's right. And really, the truth of it is that Kentucky isn't really a more talented or better team other than scoring lots of points, right? So Kentucky, if they're hot, can score lots of points. And Tennessee really wants to play a control game and slow down. And the reason for that is they can do that. Like you said, they got Lazier, and they got a great point guard, and which I really like. And Ziegler is just an incredible point guard, and he's done a great job leading the team. But they tried to slow Kentucky down. It hasn't worked out for them even when we weren't in. And Williams can match up with their big guys. And the people coming off the bench are adequate, but really the talent is there for Tennessee to beat Kentucky. Basically, there's a few division power conference transfers on Kentucky that are good, like Carr, but the rest of the guys are mid majors. They were top mid major players, and in Butler, you have a whole lot of experience in the tournament. And Butler took a team to the Final Four last year. And so that's why I've got Kentucky winning, beat Tennessee, fuck them Vols.
Well,
there you have it. So now we're on to another pretty hot matchup, I think. Houston and Purdue. You guys, now, Purdue to me, their point guards also playing well. There's so many great point guards in the tournament, and Smith has certainly performed it like one of them, right? And he's done a good job of leading the team there, and his shooting's been off the hook. But Houston's defense is just amazing. And I'm not really sure yet on my pick, so I'm going to throw it to Jason. What do you think about this game?
All right, I'm going to get this one in there, and then I'm going to have to head out. But now, this is the only time that I am actually going to alleviate my bracket from my bracket, because I actually, as much as I have been talked about on this podcast, of a big fan of Houston that I have been this season. They've been fun to watch. I've been a believer that they were one of the top teams in college basketball, but I'm not going to lie to you. I picked Gonzaga to take them out. I thought that was a matchup that would give Houston fits, which it did near the end. It turned out to be a really, really close game. But now that they've gotten that out of the way, which was why I had Purdue in the Elite Eight, because I thought that this would be Purdue versus Gonzaga, and I would give the advantage to Purdue. Purdue has gotten a little bit of a bailout with the McNeese State win, and they were able to handle them pretty well. Now you're talking about a complete 180 going up against one of the top teams in the country that has a lot of experience. So I had Purdue going to the Elite Eight in my bracket. This is going to be the one where I alleviate from. I think that the Houston Cougars actually win this convincingly.
Hell yeah.
I agree. Purdue has no chance, in my opinion.
No chance. And you've watched a lot of Big Ten basketball. How did Purdue look against Michigan, Ed?
They got – well, remember, Sean was giving me endless amounts of grief during the regular season. Because when Michigan went to Purdue, they got spanked. But Michigan spanked them back hard in the Big Ten tournament. And Purdue, they didn't look good. And I don't have a lot of confidence in them. I think the Sweet 16 is as far as they go. They were ranked pretty high earlier in the season, and they didn't maintain that extremely high level of play. They're a good team, but again, yeah, Houston they're too tough for them.
There you go. So I like defense. I enjoy offensive basketball. You know, who hates a boring basketball game? And Purdue's offense has been impressive after losing Edey to put up the kind of points they have. It's been real smooth. But Houston's defense, guys, is off the hook. And a defense like that can win a championship. So I'm going to pick Houston. Who do you got in this, Doug?
Yeah, I'm going to follow my bracket still, and Houston takes care of business.
Take care of business. All right.
TCB.
So that pretty much covers all the games. And I'd like to add thank you to Jason for coming on the show, and Ed. And everybody click, subscribe, like, share, do all those things. Has anybody got anything to add to this?
Yes.
Think like a marriage.
Buy some merchandise too, goddammit.
Oh, the merchandise, absolutely. And I want y'all to monetize and give enough money so that everybody on the podcast can have a different smacking off shirt for every day of the week, right? You know, every. Hell yeah, that's what we're a real color guys. Is that we want to be able to sport every color there is to smack it off, and we want you to too. And that way you can have a conversation on the street. What the hell is smacking off the podcast? Let me share that with you.
It's not an OnlyFans account.
Not an OnlyFans account.
It's not yet. Not yet. We're working on it. We're working on that aspect of the social media there, Jason.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you very much.
So, yeah, good night, and